What surprised you the most when you first entered the New York BigLaw ecosystem?
The pace. It's always the pace. Because people ask, how is it in New York? Like how does it work? The big law, etc. Like the law piece isn't that dissimilar. It's, the transactional world is fundamentally the same. However, the US is just on a different speed. Things move very quickly. It was the single biggest thing to get adjusted to. But again, like now that, you operate at that pace, it's fantastic because you just get stuff done. The Americans, they get stuff done.
So you become a mentor to first generation lawyers and professionals. Like what sparked that?
And I look at what I went through and, you didn't know where to turn to almost, right? Like I worked full time throughout undergrad. So it's not like I had someone guiding me through, okay, like I vaguely knew, okay, I need to write the LSAT at some point and I need to have good grades, but I didn't have exposure into the industry. I didn't have, an internship or my parents didn't connect me to someone so I could see what the practice of law actually looked like. So I was always thinking, I'm like, oh, it'd been super nice if I knew someone who's actually doing this and I could learn from them. And so now that I'm in that position, for which I'm super grateful for, you got to throw the rope back and help others because, I think it could transform people's lives.
How has becoming a parent influenced how you approach your career or your decision making?
You just become so efficient. You just become so efficient with your time.
What do you think is the most underrated skill for a junior corporate associate?
Responsiveness. Oh my gosh, responsiveness is the most important thing.
Abid, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, buddy.
It's good to have you here, man.
It's good to be here.
Tell me more about Abid Ahmed, the attorney and the person.
The attorney and the person. I think they're both the same person. I guess in terms of how I operate, pretty similarly. Like when you're an attorney or you're a person, like who am I as a person? I'm like, a husband, a dad, a friend, and then you just add attorney on it, but it's the same driving forces, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like I'm a nice guy.
Yeah, and I think
as a friend, I'm probably a nice attorney. I don't know, hardworking. Like a lot of those things transfer over. So I'd like to think like very similar in all the roles that I do. Like if I have a client, I have clients now. It's different as a partner, but they're kind of like friends. I fight hard for them. I work hard for them. I don't take them for granted. So how's that?
Yeah, it says a lot about you as a person. I think what you see is what you get. And I can attest to that, being a really close friend of yours, that it is exactly that. There is no difference. And that says a lot about you, who you are as a person and your integrity.
Yeah.
So you've built a career working on some seriously complex transactions across Canada and the US. So what originally drew you to transactional law, and maybe bring you back to the beginning of, why you decided to be a transactional lawyer?
Yeah. So I wasn't per se a transactional lawyer from the jump. In fact, when I was in law school and when I first started practicing as a student, I thought I'd be a litigator. I do a lot of yapping, as you know. I did moots in law school, and I thought I'd go into litigation. But the benefit, I think, I tell all students that I speak to these days to, a full service firm, one of the beauties of it is you get to practice to try different things as a student. And I quickly learned that, the litigation life wasn't necessarily for me. A lot more research and writing than I would have liked. But yeah, then I discovered transactional law, corporate law, and from the jump, even my first few weeks into a student, I was drawn towards it, and it, as they say, the rest is history.
Yeah, I think knowing your fast-paced energy and that whole, just you in general, it's just energy.
Yeah,
and I think that transactional side of the law is it suits your personality.
Yeah, and I also think I really like that kind of stuff outside of law. Like I follow the markets. I know it's nerdy, but I follow the markets. I could keep up with what's going on. So when you can work on those transactions or just even be ancillary in that field as your job, it's like anything else in life. If you like it, if you're into it, you're probably just going to be more attracted to it and ultimately do better at it. So
much easier when you get a passion behind you.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, 100%.
And so looking at your background then as a first generation professional, what role did that play in shaping you, shaping your motivation and your career path?
It was huge. As a first generation professional, it's interesting. And I've made this point to a friend recently, but when you're a first generation first generation professional. It's not like the other affinity groups that you check the box of, right? Like, race, gender, religion, etc. You're the only person in your family who's going to hold that title, right? For example, I'm also Indian. I'm from India, but my dad's from India. My kid is going to be Indian. My grandparents are Indian, but I will be the only person who is a first generation professional. So that means there's less people you could probably turn to, right? There's less of a community. The only people that you can turn to are the people who are kind of experiencing it at the same time as you, or are the people who've gone through it. But again, they're the only person in their lineage who is experienced what being a first generation professional is like. So I think it's really important to throw the ladder back because the community is smaller. And then once you're a first generation professional, there's no such thing as a second generation professional. I mean, I guess you could make it a thing, but like my son is never going to be a first generation professional, with two parents who are lawyers. So, I kind of look at that and I look at what I went through, and you didn't know where to turn to almost, right? Like I worked full time throughout undergrad, so it's not like I had someone guiding me through. Okay, like I vaguely knew, okay, I need to write the LSAT at some point and I need to have good grades, but I didn't have exposure into the industry. I didn't have an internship or my parents didn't connect me to someone so I could see what the practice of law actually looked like. So it's a lot of discovery and self-growth, but that's also, I think, a really good thing. Right?
Yeah, for sure. Those skills that you've been able to demonstrate in your career, they set you up. That's the difference between, people who are successful and who aren't, who can run the race and who have a story behind them. And I think, maybe Aiden one day will be like, hey, I'm a second generation.
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
I think.
Yeah. You hope so. You hope he gets there.
I mean.
If not, support whatever he wants to do. He doesn't want to be professional. That's great too. If he was a chef, that'd be fantastic.
It is so inspiring, for sure.
Yeah.
So you and I, we spent years together in New York, which was awesome.
Yeah.
What surprised you the most when you first entered the New York BigLaw ecosystem?
That's a great question. The pace. It's always the pace. Because people ask, how is it in New York? Like how does it work? The big law, et cetera. Like the law piece isn't that dissimilar. It's, the transactional world is fundamentally the same. The transactions, sure, there's, details and rules that differ, but when it comes to the conceptual practice of laws, and when it comes to the actual products, the transactions that you do, it's very similar. Canada, the U.S. It's not, you're not going to find too much of a fundamental dissonance. However, the U.S. is just on a different speed. I mean, this. You lived in New York. It just, things move very quickly. People, I think, just operate in a different lane when it comes to how quickly things need to get done and how fast they need to get stuff across the finish line. And that's something I'm also super grateful for, to have experienced that, to kind of have that cadence, because once you can kind of get a grip on it, it's advantageous anywhere you go.
For sure. If you look at then the biggest differences between Canadian and US deal dynamics, outside of the pace, is there anything else that you thought was different?
The Americans they push the pace, and it's so different. That's the markedly. I can't even put something else out there that's as different. It was the single biggest thing to get adjusted to, but again, like now that you operate at that pace, it's fantastic because you just get stuff done. The Americans, they get stuff done really fast, and it's great.
Getting stuff done is the most single important thing in the world.
100%.
From a skills point of view then, looking at that, the pace, what did New York sharpen the most for you in your experience here?
I think what was great was New York acts as like the hub, right, in the global market. So when I was in New York, I wasn't, and particularly at Latham, that has offices all over the world, I wasn't necessarily just working on New York deals. I've done deals with the Houston office, Bay Area, Singapore, and New York's just interconnected in so many different ways when you're doing transactions, because in particular in capital markets, the biggest market is here. So you have issuers in different jurisdictions that are often tapping the US markets, which is, again, often the New York Stock Exchange, NASDAQ, et cetera. And so I was able to meet folks from all these different markets, and I think that was awesome. Like, and now being back in Canada, it's not necessarily that my network is, like I know a bunch of people in the U.S., but it's like again Singapore, the Middle East, wherever there is a presence that Latham had, I was able to meet really cool people, and it was really great personally too to just meet these people. They're a lot of them are friends now.
Yeah, and that's awesome, and that's what a global firm can give you, and that's the experience you're kind of looking for when you're making a move down or you're making a move overseas, is that ability to connect and have that network to go back to Canada,
right,
and be able to tap on when you need it. It's going back to what we spoke about before, is that what you're the same person as a lawyer and as a person. So when you do need to tap back into those relationships that you had, you're like, oh, that was a bit. We spoke and it was great.
Yeah.
And I think
that guy sucks.
Yeah. So looking at your experience, is there any kind of standout deal moments when you're in New York that were like, you know what, that changed the way I think as a lawyer?
That's a good question. Standout deal moments. Can't point to a specific deal where you're like, this is a standout deal moment. I think it's pretty much the ability to get stuff accomplished very quickly and being very solutions oriented, right? It's not like, because there's so much going on and these deals are very important, you have to get them right, but you have to get them done also at an appropriate timeline. So I think a lot of the practitioners in the US, at least the ones that I work with, it was extremely impressive how not only were they very efficient, but they ensured they were also accurate with the advice that was provided to our clients. Again, maybe I was spoiled at Latham. It had a ton of resources. It's fully equipped, but I thought that was, just on every deal, the fact that you had an expert in every room and you could go to them and get an answer almost immediately was pretty impressive.
And that's just the benefits of working at a firm like that, because people shouldn't underestimate. Yes, the brand is great, but the resources available and that, working with people who just iron sharpens iron, right?
Iron sharpens iron, 100%. Yeah, it's like, the brand is the brand, but like there has to be like a baseline level at least of like excellence that allows you to grow the brand, right? Someone once said you can always get one deal, but like how do you get repeat work? How do you build confidence? How do you build trust? That you could be the most sensational guy in the world or girl in the world, and it's not going to do anything if it doesn't come accompanied with excellent work product.
For sure. So then you made the rare jump back from New York to Canada.
Yeah.
What drove that decision?
Family first. And it wasn't just family. I mean, definitely that played a big role. So, I mean, as you know, we're expecting another child. So we've been, very excited about it. But when we were kind of doing a little bit of soul searching, because we ended up in New York for a lot longer than we thought, or at least my wife thought. So, when we were coming down to New York, when you called me and got us going down that slippery slope, Christine said, we'll go down there. And, she's a big law lawyer as well. So it made a lot of sense for both of us to do it. And she was like, as soon as I get pregnant, we'll come back home. And then, the rest is history. We moved down here. We loved it and met friends like you, who helped us kind of bridge that gap being away from family and friends back home. And we were like, okay, well, we've been here for like quite some time now. And if the plan is to go home, and we're both very close with our families and we love Canada, then we're like, okay, we should probably start looking into it. And then we just were looking for a sign, and then she got pregnant again, and the rest is history. And I'm grateful we could go back to Canada. Super grateful I could go back to my old firm, Miller Thomson. So it all kind of worked out, and couldn't be happier.
Awesome. And I think, when you meant going on that plane, having that, mindset, nothing's forever.
Yeah.
But ultimately, having that vision, be like, family is important to you. So it is going to happen one day. But as we know, we go through life, there's certain chapters, but there's never a timeline on those chapters. It's like, right, well, this will happen when it happens, and you're back where you need to be, and it all worked out. But I think it's also super cool you went back to your old firm. But again, going back to It says a lot about you, being able to do that, like not burning any bridges, being able to like, yes, I'm going to do my thing, but I'll be back one day.
Not even burning bridges. I just love my old firm. Like I love, you knew that I love my old firm too. Do you remember when you called and you're like, oh, hey, like, like U.S. firms, Latham, et cetera. And I was like, you know what? I kind of really like it here. I just want to make partner and move to the suburbs. 4 years later, I made partner and moved to the suburbs.
Yeah, you did.
But yeah, no, it's, I loved my time there. And it was extremely easy. And people ask what it's like going back, and it's like finding your favorite hoodie. Mm-hmm. You lost it in the closet for a few years, and then you discover it, and you're like, oh my gosh, and I was putting it back on. The people there are great. It's gotten, I loved it when I was there, but it's in recent years, I feel like they've taken it to another level as well. So I'm excited to be a part of it. I'm grateful they let me back.
And so when you moved back then to Miller Thomson, how did the market receive the global experience you brought back?
I mean, in terms of like how did...
in terms of work, in terms of reception, in terms of, colleagues. Because I think a lot of the time when someone makes a move overseas, it's like, oh, great for them, but, I'm doing my thing and I'm on my track. So when you come back to Canada, after receiving the experience you got in New York, like, how was that received? Was it a case of, I can slot back in? Or was it a transition? Like, talk us through.
Honestly, from day one, even before I started back, like when I think news started getting out that I was coming back, so a lot of people are reaching out, and there's a lot of, great energy, and people were happy. I was happy, so it was amazing. It was, it's exactly the reception I'd kind of hoped for going back. And I think, the firm itself is fantastic, and if I can be a creative to the extent that I can leverage, like people that I've met, or if I can be helpful to, my contacts that aren't from Canada, and if Miller Thomson's involved, that's fantastic. But yeah, I just want to be a piece of the puzzle. And the fact that Miller was receptive to it, it meant the world to me. And I'm a very loyal person, and I just want to do whatever I can to take them to wherever they want to go.
I think the key there was that you were happy, and I think I can attest to this. When I left New York, I left for the right reasons. It wasn't like New York pushed me out. Right. So I think for you as well, it was your decision to leave New York, and it was your decision to go back to Miller Thomson. I think that says a lot. It's like, I was happy to make the call, and that's why you've been able to do so well so quickly. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if I've been able to do well. I try my best. But no, yeah, I think that's exactly right. I think like most things in life, you probably want to do it on your terms. Whether it's professionally, personally, you want to make a decision where I don't want to say hold all the cards, because that kind of sounds like manipulative, but like where you have options and you're feeling really good about where you're at, because that's probably when you have the best leverage. If you're coming at it from like a position of desperation, or I need to do this now, then you're probably not going to make the optimal decision. So I like to think Christine and I were in that position, and I mean, we're certainly happy now, so it worked out.
It's an awesome mindset. So what do you think clients then value the most today from someone who has practice on both sides of the border?
Well, I think a lot, like, obviously the answer is, they appreciate someone who knows people in both jurisdictions. For example, I had a client recently that was seeking alternative lenders, and I introduced them to folks that I knew from my time in the U.S. Didn't necessarily have to be a player in Canada. And similarly, with some of my U.S. clients, if they're looking to do stuff, like perhaps there's a Canadian company that would be better suited for whatever it is they're doing. I think that's good. And I think also in terms of just to that point, helping them understand their options, right? Like it's not like you're in one ecosystem. There's many different ecosystems and markets that you can explore. Our clients are builders, they're founders, or they're, veteran players at financial institutions. But if you can provide value by maybe opening a door or introducing them to someone, I think that's been something that I've realized recently, and I think I'm also starting to realize how powerful that is.
Adding value is the best BD you can do.
Yeah.
So where do you see the biggest growth pockets then for cross-border work involving Canada?
I think it's So obviously the U.S. and Canada do a ton of work, like, your next door neighbors, and they're going to continue to do a ton of work. But I think the political climate has shifted a bit insofar that the current leadership in Canada, and I'm not diving into politics, but the current leadership in Canada has done a pretty good job of reaching out to other markets and also letting them know, like, hey, we're here and we want to do stuff. And I think that's great for Canada as a country. Our prime minister was in the UAE and secured, I think, an $80 billion commitment to invest in Canada. And, I'm excited about seeing what that looks like in terms of an actual vehicle, what the structure of that deal would be. And it's great, I think, going and, reminding our European friends, hey, we're here, we've been your friends, we're going to continue to be your friends, and let's do stuff together. I think that's going to take Canada a long way in terms of generating capital and investment, but also just doing work with other countries that aren't necessarily just the United States. And ultimately, that's good for Canada as a whole, I think.
Yeah, it's obvious. You guys are doing some great things. I think if you look at, in terms of sophistication then, pace and strategy, where does Canada punch above its weight? And has that changed compared to maybe when you left to where it is now?
I think Canada's always punched above its weight when it comes to talent. I mean, our talent that comes from our education system is unparalleled. You see a lot of Canadians go to different markets where they do really well. I think something that Canada needs to work on, and they're trying to, is retaining that talent. And, I think that will probably determine how Canada lands in the future when it comes to emerging industries. So I think our advantages are people. I obviously, stuff like energy, mining, I don't need to dig into those. dig into those. I don't need to dig into those, but
I'm still sweating when you mention politics. But yeah, go on.
Yeah. Seriously, you got to backtrack. Yeah, can we edit that piece out? Maybe don't get that. But yeah, no, I think like energy. I think critical earth minerals, etc. All of that stuff is something that has been a Canadian strength, and it seems like we're really focused on leading into them. So we'll see.
Even it says a lot about your decision, because let's be frank, and not to try to blow smoke up your ass, but you could have went to any law firm in New York. You could have went to any law firm in the US. You could have went to the Middle East. You actually could have went anywhere in the world, but you chose to go back to Canada. And I know that you're really, passionate and you're a high performer and you want the best. So with that, the fact that you've chosen a firm in Toronto for you to go and build your practice just says a lot about, the market there. And I think, you're absolutely right. The talent that comes out of Canada and the talent that you guys got there is awesome. And I think the whole world can notice that. I think you look at Canadians, they do well wherever they go.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think Canadians work hard. I think Canadians, especially younger Canadians, are hungry to prove themselves. So oftentimes they might leave the nest. I think the biggest thing is for Canada to focus on making Canada that market. And, I think when it comes to law, for example, like in Canada, you have like 10 firms, right? Let's say maybe 12. And they're all great firms, like they're full service, great firms. They will take care of you at every stage of the life cycle where you are as a company. And, if it really just comes down to who you like working with. If you're a company and you're working with a Canadian law firm and you really like the lawyers you're working with, stick with them. They'll do a great job, I'm sure. If you don't like them, give me a call. But yeah, I think like that's something that shows. I think that underscores you're in good hands. I think it's, if you compare that to the U.S. market, it's kind of like the population. So 10x the population-ish, 10x the number of firms. And in the legal industry, I feel like you get more of like a curated selection. So if you're a company who's, very strong in a particular sector, you might consider one U.S. law firm over another. Or if you're an early stage company versus a company that's exploring an IPO, you're going to explore different law firms. But the good thing about Canada is, again, I don't know, maybe it's because we're a smaller market, but you have 10 to 12 firms. They're all great, and you can't go wrong.
And if you look back to the start of your journey when you decided to make the move to New York, and I'm trying to rack my brain about what power of persuasion did I use to say to you, you got to make a move to New York. So, based on that, you obviously had some concern about making a move to New York, because I think everyone does. It's a change, and you're doing really well at Miller Thomson. So, what are the common misconceptions you feel that maybe lawyers have about making a move to New York, specifically Canadian lawyers?
I was actually pleasantly surprised because, like, growing, like New York City, BigLaw, they work really hard, right? But guess what? They're lawyers, especially hungry associates at firms in Canada, who probably work, equally as hard or like almost just as hard. So I think for those folks in particular, like if you want to explore a market, I wouldn't let that get in the way. I wouldn't let that, like, Wall Street, like, burning the midnight oil. You're burning the midnight oil on Bay Street as well.
There's like 24 hours in a day.
Exactly. Like you're working hard. So, and don't let that be a point of inertia. If you're curious, I actually wasn't. I didn't want to go, but I'm so glad I did. And like, it was truly transformative. Obviously professionally, it was like going away to university almost, right? Like, yeah, 4 years, almost 4 years. You meet a lot of people, you grow, and then you come back and you're more creative to whatever communities you were a part of than before you left.
Transformative.
That's it.
I transformed your life.
Yeah,
baby.
You meet good guys. You meet people like you.
Oh,
Yeah.
I think that's another thing that you can't underestimate about New York is the people that you meet here.
It's crazy.
The contacts and you're sitting at a bar and you're talking to someone. You're like, wow, holy hell!
I've met incredibly accomplished and incredible people at my son's daycare. Like it's like coffee shops. It is incredible in that way, and you really do need boots on the ground, I think, to be able to, just have a chance encounter with someone, and next thing you know, you're doing work with them, or they're a good friend. Not just necessarily work. It's really cool, I think, how people in New York, you can just go down the street and meet people and do stuff together. It's not that easy, I think, in other places.
Yeah, and I think one of the best things you ever introduced to me was those Kirkland hot dogs.
Yeah, yeah. Not bad.
I wouldn't know them if I didn't know you.
Not bad. Bad.
But like going back to that,
not Kirkland and Alice.
Yeah.
By the way. Unless they sponsor this.
Yeah, no, I don't know. But
if they do, then sure, keep that. Roll with
Costco.
It. Yeah.
I think if you look at even that, like I remember I was pushing Cleo, my oldest daughter, on the swings in one of the playgrounds, and I was chatting to one of the dads, and he gave me a business idea for my business, so I implemented, and I was just like you just get this free advice of someone he was a multi-millionaire. He had a couple of real estate private equity companies, and I was just like, it's awesome that these people they want to give you free advice and want you to do well, and they want you to, it's like you're winning, I'm winning, everyone's winning. Right. And it's awesome to be around those types of people.
It is, and I think it's like because there's so much of the pie that there's a lot more willingness of folks to share it. Like people aren't as like elbows out. Wow, elbows out, political again. I gotta stop.
I'm still sweating.
I gotta stop. But yeah, no, there's like a willingness of people to be like, hey, what are you building? What are you working on? What do you do? All right, maybe we can work together. Or like here's what worked for me, because people are constantly unlocking new things where if you were to get competitive and like stay in your little corner of whatever market is that you do, you're almost missing out on actualizing gains from speaking to folks and learning from each other, which it doesn't happen everywhere, but certainly in New York, I think that's one of the best things about actually living and working here.
I think that's it. Like people can give out about New York and they can give out about the US as much as they want, but it'll never change because you're just a product of your environment. And you're associated with people who just want to be the best around you.
Yeah, and the energy. We both talked about this.
Yeah,
I got off the plane today and I was like, oh my gosh, like you just
what time is it?
Yeah, exactly. It's go time.
Ooh.
It's go time. It's always go time.
So looking then about giving back, and so you become a mentor to first generation lawyers and professionals. Like what sparked that?
I think just coming up through the ranks myself. Like I didn't really know any lawyers that I could turn to. I'm from London, Ontario. it's not like I was, even if I was in Toronto, I mean, it's not like I would have had access to these people. I just kind of, Reddit and maybe Twitter. I don't know, not Twitter. What was that forum? What was that for? Law students? I don't know. Top law students? I don't know. Anyways, those were kind of like my biggest information centers that I could draw knowledge from. But like, I was always thinking, I'm like, oh, it'd been nice if I like knew someone who's actually doing this and I could learn from them. And so now that I'm in that position, for which I'm super grateful for, you got to throw the rope back and help others, because, I think it could transform people's lives.
And you're an inspiration on that end, I think.
I'm not. You're just.
Well, I wish I was lying, but I'm not. What advice do you give to young lawyers who don't come from those traditional legal backgrounds?
That's a good question. I think just keep trying. I think what's nice, to be honest, to be in that position is you can try different things. You'll reach out to people. Maybe you'll cold call people, and you'll ask for a coffee, pick their brain. I did that all the time. But what's crazy about it is now in my role, you're kind of back at it, right? Like you're reaching out to people, and you're trying to grow your practice, particularly me. I'm like 3 months in, and I'm always up for a conversation. I'm always trying to reach out to people, and I've kind of been doing that for a very long time, just to know more about the area or the industry. And it's just like now it's so I'm not hesitant or shy to reach out and see what people are doing and see if I can be a value add. So I think for the advice I'd give is just, keep exploring, be curious, and that'll help you in the actual job at a certain point.
And now that you're a partner, what leadership traits did you take from New York that you can carry into practice in Canada?
Leadership traits.
Well, you're a partner now.
Yeah. No, that's good. I think it was just seeing how people operated. I mean, obviously, there's incredible lawyers in Toronto. And, I'm super grateful to count a number of them as my mentors at Miller Thomson, outside of Miller Thomson. But there's, like seeing some people that I worked with here, just seeing them, how they would quarterback deals across jurisdictions seamlessly. There's no regional tensions. Everyone worked as one collective unit. That's kind of what I strive for. So like, for example, if I get a deal that requires me to tap into, the talented people of our Montreal office, in Calgary, and, everywhere we have offices, and we have offices literally everywhere. And, I hopefully be able to lead the team in a way that there's no disruption, one seamless unit, no tension. And I think that's something that obviously on a much larger scale, I saw some of my biggest mentors at Latham do, and I'd like to carry on back at home.
This is great. I think so. We've traveled together.
Yeah.
We've lived in New York, grind at the same time.
Yeah.
At Weed and Piss.
Yeah.
So looking back, like, what has that period taught you? I think when you came down here, firstly, you didn't have kids.
Yeah.
You and Christine were just newly married.
Yeah.
So looking back at the 4 years, what do you think that period has taught you?
Oh man, so much. We're just like kids. We're just a couple kids who got married. I think the period just taught me the importance of a lot of things. Obviously, the importance of your career, the importance of networking and all that fun stuff, but more so like the importance of family, being away from them. Distance, as they say, it makes the heart grow fonder. That's certainly the case. Like, when we had Aiden and it was just the two of us, just, working our jobs in BigLaw, we could have used a grandma more than once. So, it just taught me the value of a lot of things, like both in living in New York and having the access to the resources and the network that you can tap into here, but also the things that you didn't have. And now that I'm back in Canada, I'm super appreciative of those things, even more so than if I had just kind of grown up with them entered this new stage as a parent with them. And I'll always be super grateful for everything New York gave me. And, I hope it's not done. I'm back here often and you can't keep me away.
Yeah. And I think traveling is the best experience you can have. And I've got 3 kids, as you know, and it pains me to say this, but when they turn 18 and when they finish university,
Yeah.
I want them to get out there and travel.
Yeah,
because
100%.
the experience is just
100%.
it's career defining, and also give
Even
you life
before
skills.
that, like, you know, maybe do an exchange semester.
Well, I don't know
like,
about that. Gotta keep them home.
yeah.
But maybe when they get a bit older, but I think I'll take differently. But
Well,
yeah.
Mike, like Aiden was born in New York.
Yeah.
So like he's like,
And he's a
we're
true
like
New Yorker.
concerned. We're like
He's
a
a-
little concerned. We're like, okay, he's gonna turn 18. He's like, all right, off to Penn State. Like, you know, why do you think we went home for the second one? We're not paying international tuition rates for that one.
Oh, for those of you who know Aiden, you know he's got the energy of a true New Yorker.
Yeah, he really does. 3 New Yorkers.
So then, on being a parent, then, like, how has becoming a parent influenced how you approach your career or your decision making?
You just become so efficient. You just become so efficient with your time. Yeah, like, you know, everything you've got daycare drop off, daycare pick up, and you need to absolutely be as efficient as possible in that time. And then you come home and like I'm not just gonna come home and, you know, like okay, Christine, like, you got this. I want to be a part of it. Like, particularly here, like Aiden's turning 3, so his first 2 years of his life, you know, I mean, they were so special. And from 5 to 8, you know, and luckily we were senior associates at this time, so we could do this. But from 5 to 8, you take a step back, and, you know, your team knows this. If you're on a deal, it's like, okay, like these 3 hours, I just, you know, I gotta hang out with my son. I'm gonna put him to bed, and then, you know, you log back on until whenever in the morning. And it was really great because we could both do it. So there was, you know, misery loves company. But it was, I think that it just taught me how to use my time. And then, you know, you add on to that working out, something obviously that, like, it's a very good thing that we should be doing. And sometimes, you know, I was pretty religious with working out, but you know, there was periods when I was a new parent where that had to be sacrificed. And, you know, you just kind of prioritize things and you figure it out. And now obviously it's a lot easier. He's older. He's a little bit more self-sufficient in some ways, and definitely not in others. Gosh. And then, yeah, when the next one comes, we're back to it. But yeah, I think you just become more organized and, you know, efficient, and it's good for you.
Busy is a privilege.
Yeah.
I think it's also unique in the sense that you and Christine are both capital markets lawyers, or both transactional lawyers, and I think the fact that you both set boundaries to spend time at Aiden, because his job is 24/7.
Yeah, it really is.
And your job is 24/7. There's work always to be done, and I think setting those boundaries from an early stage is so important. And, you know, it's a hats off to you guys in terms of, you know, being disciplined with that, because it's awesome to watch.
Yeah, and it's also about the team. It's also about the team.
It is.
Like now, like at Miller Thomson, like, you know, like, and even at Latham, like, I was very lucky to work on really good teams, and they would, you know, we'd pick each other up whenever we needed to, and that's how you keep people, right? Otherwise, like let's be honest, the attrition rate in the industry isn't great. I think sometimes maybe people, yeah. We hope that stays
I don't know. We edit that out.
Yeah, we do like that. Yeah, no, but seriously, it's sometimes it can be tough, but I think if you've got a good team around you and you actually like what you're doing, you figure it out.
And if you don't, you can message me.
That's it. Or he'll message you.
Oh, either or.
And next thing you know, you're moving to New York City.
Changing your life. Transformative. So, what does success look like to you now compared to when you started?
That's an interesting question. It's kind of stayed the same. It's, you know, yeah, you want to be happy. I think that's it, really. It's happiness across everything you do. You want to be happy professionally. You want to be doing good work, and you want to be working with good people. You know, careers are careers, and they're long but short at the same time. So you want to try and stay as happy as possible, because that's what you spent the majority of your day doing. Success also means spending time with my family, spending time with my wife and my son, and, you know, that's just something that I'll never sacrifice. So as long as they're good and we're all happy, then you move on to the next stage of happiness, which is, you know, make sure you're happy doing what you're doing, and you're happy with the people you're working with. And then at that point, you kind of cover like the happiness spectrum. Like I mean, I'd love to work out a little bit more, but that'll come. You know, the kids grow up, they're off to school, and then all you've got is the gym in the basement in the evening. So I think but at the same time, you don't want to you don't want to sacrifice that. You want to keep up with it or whatever it is. If it's cooking, you want to make time for it, because if you're not doing your happy, you can get into a dark spot.
And that really says a lot about you as a person and your values. It really, really does. And that's awesome to see. Some quick fire questions. All right. So what do you think is the most underrated skill for a junior corporate associate?
I mean, I don't know if it's underrated, because it is. I mean, I'm sure everyone says it, but like responsiveness. Oh my gosh, responsiveness is the most important thing. Not for like even a junior associate. It's like right now I need to be responsive to my clients. Like they have questions, and you need to provide them with answers, or just let them know that you're working on it. Same thing applies to junior associates. It's okay. Like, if you ask them to do something or look into something, it's not even like you need the answer back right away, but you just need to know they're on it. Like just to give you that peace of mind, you can be like, okay, they're on it. I'll circle back to this, instead of being like, oh my gosh, are they alive? Like what's going on, right? So
there's no such thing as over communication.
No, be as responsive. Just a quick got it, on it, goes a long way. You build trust quickly like that.
For sure. Canadian deal trend you're most bullish on for 2026?
Canadian deal trend. Oh,
these are quick, buddy. Come on.
Yeah. Okay. I don't want to say data centers, because that is, everyone's going to say that. I want to say energy.
Ooh.
Yes. Because right now these things are sucking up crazy amounts of energy, and Canada is obviously a huge leader in energy. So I think like we are in a position to provide good, clean, renewable energy in a way that these centers, which AI is not going anywhere, are going to require. And if we can kind of, do a good job in building that out and becoming a market leader, it'll be fantastic.
And what's one thing you learned in New York that every Canadian lawyer should know?
One thing I learned you said quick. Pace. Just, like, don't be wrong. You got to be right, but be quick. Just
and respond.
Just respond. Yeah. Like whether, just be quick. Just do your job.
And what's one thing you miss about New York, and that one thing you definitely don't miss?
One thing that I miss about New York. I miss a lot of things about New York. I miss walking. I have a car now.
Yeah.
And like, if you look at because I'm religious with my Apple Watch, and you look at my step count, ever since we moved back, it's like, when I was in New York, I walked to work, I walked everywhere, I walked to meet up with friends. Now, I've got a car, drive places, drive to get groceries. And so I miss that. I miss the walk, it's a little thing, but it's making a big difference in my life. And one thing I don't miss, I don't know. Let's say garbage on the streets. I mean, I'm sure everyone's got to agree with that.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, because when we moved from New York to LA, that was one thing I noticed, is that, I'll be like talking to someone, okay, to get me some down to the shops to get some groceries, and I was like, I'll just walk. They're like, you crazy?
Yeah, same. We in our neighborhood, we'll be like, oh yeah, we'll just walk to that restaurant. It's like 20 minutes. People are like, what? Why would you do that? And I'm like, oh, okay, I'll just get in my car.
Drive, find parking.
Yeah, sure. Screw the environment. Yeah, I'll just drive. Yeah.
Efficiency.
Yeah.
So, best piece of client advice you've ever been given?
Build lasting relationships. I think right now a lot of people are just focused on, a lot of young people too, they're just focused on, okay, I need to get out there, I need to network, I need to know 10 investment bankers, I need to know 10 PE people, I need to just like network, which is good. It's always good to meet people, but focus on building lasting relationships, right? Like, I mean, our relationship is more personal than professional, but like it is incredible, and we've done stuff professionally as well. I think building lasting and strong relationships pays off more than you think. And if you actually like someone, you should grow that out as much as you can. And it's great, if you're just like some of the referral work that I'm getting now, it's just from like people that I'm really, really good friends with. Like, yes, they work at very high profile organizations in America, but ultimately at the end of the day, they're good friends. They, and my wife and I hang out with them, and it's fantastic.
You got 52 Saturdays.
Yep. We've
committed to seeing each other at least 2 of those 52. We've gone on a lot of holidays together.
Yeah.
Favorite holidays that we've been on?
We've been on some good ones.
Pelican Hill, surely.
Yeah. I was gonna say Pelican Hill for sure.
It's gotta
be.
For sure.
It's Pelican Hill. Hole 13, I think, overlooking Kobe's house. Rest in peace.
What a time.
That was. We should go back there.
We should. That could be one of the 50
That could be one of the every year.
Yeah,
every year, every year.
This has been awesome.
Yeah,
you know, I
it's
think
been great.
when you
My
talk to
first
people-
podcast.
yeah, you know,
Yeah.
you nailed it, because I think you're one of those people who is just, your energy is infectious, and I love being around you. We say walking up here, I was like, it's so nice to hang
Yeah,
out with
yeah.
someone who shares the same energy
Yeah.
as me, because usually I'm the energy guy, but it's hard to beat your energy, and I think you're looking at Aiden, I'm like, he definitely gets it from
Yeah,
you.
he gets from somewhere.
The apple didn't fall too far from the tree.
Oh boy, and now 2 of them. Great
Ah,
stuff.
double trouble.
Yeah. It'll be great.
Hey, there's always a whiskey in the corner.
You're gonna prioritize. You gotta be efficient. I just hope there's more of that left to
Yeah.
figure out. I really do.
I've loved it. Really,
Yeah.
really have.